Project for today is going to be continuing on this Ford 641 tractor. In the last video we got it running enough to get it on the trailer. It did die when we got it on the trailer, and then I managed to get it running. It made it off the trailer and then died again, and the carburetor is just plugging up with rust and stuff, so we're going to take that off and address that and get it cleaned out properly this time. I'm going to pull that air cleaner assembly off of there and we'll clean that out, and if we have time maybe we'll get to those front tires. We'll get swapping those and just make it a decent runner for now, and then I'm going to worry about the rest of the stuff after that. So I'm going to take this air cleaner off first. It only had one bolt holding it in. And this is a oil bath air cleaner, so we've got the cup on the bottom that holds the oil, and then the top you can kind of, I guess you can't really see in there. You can see how filthy that is, so we're gonna have to do a good cleaning on that. And then you already saw me take the carburetor off, so I think I'm just gonna speed through that, and then we'll get that soaking in the ultrasonic cleaner and see if we can get that cleaned up. I took the bottom off of that air cleaner. You can see how much water was in there, and that's all gummed up. So it's a good thing we didn't start it with that tube connected. That would have been a lot of junk getting sucked in there. So start pulling the carburetor off now. I'm gonna kind of do the same thing I did before. Pull this fitting out of here. And we got our linkages and then those two bolts, or them two nuts up here. Before I tear it apart to put it in the ultrasonic cleaner, I'm gonna wash it off in the parts washer, get some of this grime off the outside of it. So I started tearing the carburetor apart here. I've got the float bowl soaking already. It was pretty full of rust still. I knew I didn't do the greatest job cleaning it when we did it just on the trailer. Get this float off of here. It doesn't really sound like there's any more gas in there than there was before, but I'll soak it and then we'll see what it looks like after. The needle wasn't terrible. I'll probably just clean that up by hand. And I'll have to get this needle seat out of here. I don't have a gasket for it, so I'm gonna have to make one. This one's pretty well shot, so I'm gonna just pull all that off of here. I got that gasket pretty much scraped off, and there's still some barnacles and stuff in here, but I'm going to throw it all in the ultrasonic cleaner, and then we'll see how good it is when it comes out. We'll probably have to still do some cleaning. I'm not sure how good that's going to do getting the rust flakes off and stuff. So while we got the carburetor soaking, I'm going to take these front tires off of it, and we'll get these swapped over to the correct ones. So these rims are actually the correct rims. It looks like they're just super wide tires that got put on there. So I've got the correct tires we'll put on there and some new tubes. I'm not sure if I'll be able to break the bead with this bead breaker, but we'll see. The tire's so big, the bar hits the other side of the tire, so I can't go down quite as far. Try to readjust this piece. I think that might have made it worse. We got a little pressure on it that time anyway. There it went. That was a tough one. We gotta do the back side. There it popped. Oh. That's quite a workout. So I bought these tires probably a couple years ago for this thing, and they've been sitting, they were banded around so you can see how squished they are. There's a little bit of a gap there. So what I did is I took this one and I jammed some 2x4s in there. I'm going to let that sit for a while. I'm hoping that it'll keep it spread open. Otherwise I don't really have a tire spreader or anything to get them to come open. But they were out in the cold storage too, so warming them up might help a little bit. But we'll get started taking this one off anyway, and I'm going to measure that rim to make sure we got the right rim. Otherwise, I have in the past, if they're not quite that bad, I've put a tube in there and aired it up to kind of spread it open and leave it like that. But this one, they're so squished that I don't even think I could have got a tube in there to do that. So we'll see if this works or not. So I got to pull this nut off of the valve stem here for the tube. And we'll start peeling it off of there. There, now we have to pull that tube out of there. We got that out of there. So you can see this rim was a lot smaller than what that tire was. In between the beads here, it's 5.5 inches. So that was quite a stretch to try to put that big tire on there. That was a 9-inch wide tire that was on there. So these will be a lot better sized for these rims. So I'll have to get the wire wheel and we'll clean up this rim. It doesn't look too great. And then we'll get to putting that tire on. Hopefully it's stretched out enough by then. Well, I've got the rim cleaned up about as good as it's gonna get. We'll see if this tire stayed spread out or not. I'll take these 2x4s out of here. That did seem to work, kinda. It's still fairly narrow, but we'll see if we can make it work that way. I'll take an air gun and blow that out. It got a little bit of wood chips in there from the 2x4s. Alright, well, it kind of wants to narrow back up, so it's not going to be the easiest tire to put on here. Just got to make sure the top comes up and over as I'm pulling with the pry bar. And I think it started now. Normally I can kind of just pound them around on the first side of the tire, but this one is, being that it's narrowed up like that, I can't really do that. And we got the first half in there. This is going to be really tough to get the tube in. It's a pretty good sized tube, and this tire is only about maybe 2 inches spread apart. I'm going to get 2x4s put in that other tire And the longer it sits and stretches, the better. And then I'll start trying to get the tube in here. All right, we'll start trying to stuff this in here. I usually like to get the tube in just the tire and then try to get it tucked around the rim. I've been fighting with this for a little while and I'm slowly getting there. Seems like there's just this one part that's a little bit narrower. I can't hardly get my fingers in there to push the tube in. Got most of it. Now I gotta try the hard part of getting that valve stem in there. Not sure how to go about this. It needs to, the whole tire's gotta go down quite a bit for me to get that valve stem down in there. It's got to turn a little bit too. Push it away like that maybe. Oh man. So I'm pulling on it from the back side. I just about got it. There we go. And I'll just have to make sure my GoPro quit recording on me. I was just gonna say, I just gotta make sure the tube doesn't get pinched now when we get the tire all the way on there. I'm just putting this valve stem tool on there. That way I don't lose that as I'm putting the tire on. Gotta get this side to drop down over the edge of the rim. Which I might start on that valve stem side so I don't pinch that tube so bad. And turn it to straighten out that valve stem. I'll try to get it to drop down over here. Well, we got it on there. Let's spray some lube around the bead. I'm hoping it doesn't pinch that tube. I'm just gonna put a little bit of air in it to start. See if it'll suck up inside the tire. We'll take a look. It is starting to suck up inside the tire, I think. There's a little bit poking out back here. I don't know if you can see that. I'll try to tuck that in. I'll keep going and see what happens. I don't want to let go of this valve stem in case I lose it in there before it gets aired up. It looks okay now. I think it'll go. These rims might still be a little bit too wide. I probably should have 6.5 inch wide tire for them. Grab some safety glasses. Whenever I'm airing up tires for the first time, I like to make sure I got safety glasses on. This bead is almost popped up all the way. Not wanting to pop that bead up on the back side, but it says the maximum inflation on this is 95 psi. I really don't think that would be how much you'd want to put in this. We're at just about 30. The back side is pretty much seated, I think. It doesn't really come up that lip very much, but it looks even all the way around. I think this side is actually pretty good too. It finally slid up on this side. But I'm gonna air it down. Probably only run like 25 psi in it or so. And we'll go put that one back on and start on the other side. By the looks of it, I'm thinking the rims were on backwards to fit those bigger tires. Yeah, that fits a lot better going this way. Now you can see that's quite the difference in tire, how narrow that is. That should steer a lot better. These didn't get the greatest traction. It made the tractor get better traction though, probably, because it leaned backwards like that. It'll sit more normal now. But I'll get pulling the other side off. I'll just speed through that since you've already seen me do it one time before, and hopefully this one won't fight us too bad. Well, that's the first time I've ever had that happen. That bead breaker almost got it, and then it popped out of there. We'll see if I can get it to go now. I got the front side, I just can't get the back side. This one is really rusted. There we go. Well, this project just kind of took a turn. I wasted all that time breaking the bead. I started taking the tire off and the valve stem pulled through, and so did a bunch of parts of the rim. It looks like it's rusted out here and then it sucked it in. I don't know if it was like that, I just didn't see it, or if I just did that when I pulled down on it like that. So it's pretty rusty inside there too. So I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with that. I might have to clean it up and weld it shut basically, and then put a new hole in or drill a new hole for the valve stem. But I don't know if I really want to do all that. If this rim is that thin, it's probably all junk. So I guess I'm gonna have to see if I have a different rim that I can put this tire on and then go from there. So I've had the stuff cooking in the ultrasonic cleaner for about an hour and a half now. It's still pretty warm, but our float looks a lot better. I can still hear stuff inside the float, but it floated in there the whole time and I didn't see any bubbles coming out, so I'm not really sure. You can see it's floating in there okay. It's a little bit low in there maybe, but I don't see any bubbles or anything. Usually you can see bubbles coming up if it's got a leak. So I'm not sure what we got going on there. I guess I'll just try to run it. This carburetor is not all that difficult to pull off the tractor, so I'll have to get my pliers here. This stuff's pretty hot still. It looks like it got a little cleaner. There's still some rust in there. I might take a wire brush and try to get some of that, but most of the gunk and stuff is gone. So that's good. The float bowl is about the worst part of it. That looks like it cleaned up pretty good. You can kind of see the bottom is kind of gray now instead of all that rust color. There is still some rust in there that I'll have to clean up a little bit, but all in all it's looking pretty good. So for making this gasket, I'm going to try an old trick by hitting it with the hammer. You can see that made the outline for me, so I can cut that out and then we'll have to figure out all the holes we have to cut in it. So I got it cleaned up pretty good. A lot of it's just staining now that doesn't really come off. And I made the gasket. It's not perfect. I ended up having to oblong a hole out there because I did that wrong. But if you have one of these hole punches that you just hit on the end, that actually works really good for making holes for gaskets. I could have just ordered the carburetor kit, but we didn't really need it since the needle and everything was good. And mainly that's what you need it for, is the needle. And I might end up ordering a float for this though, but this one seems like it's okay for now. So we'll start putting this back together. I gotta remember how this all went. I think it was kind of this was under there like that. Kind of hard to hold all that stuff when it's spring loaded like that. The pin didn't come super clean, so that's part of our problem too. We almost got it there. Get through that last piece. There we go. That seems okay. And the needle falls down like it should when I let go. Alright, so now we got that. Oh shoot, I think I should have put... Oh, never mind, I can get the gasket on. The way the stock gasket was, it was actually a little bit different. You couldn't put the gasket on once your float was on, so we got kind of lucky there. I don't know if I made the... Yeah, that goes like this. If I made the hole big enough. There we go. So we got that in there. Get that back over. Flip it like this. Long screw went here. I think I'm gonna try to put this tag. Well, I guess I can't. I kind of wanted the tag on the outside. Well, maybe I could put it on that long screw. This is the tag with your information for the carburetor. So this one specifically is a TSX-765. So when I was looking up carb kits, you needed to know that number on the tag. Otherwise, most of them that I've come across, the tags are missing. So you kind of got to guess by what the stuff looks like. I'll put that on the outside here. As I was trying to read it, it was tucked on the inside. That shouldn't interfere with anything. Oh no, I forgot something. Forgot this Venturi tube. Dang it. I thought I was getting close. I'm still waiting on that clutch for that mini bike that we were working on a couple videos back. I wanted to get that finished this week. And then I was gonna order a carb kit for this, but I thought we could get by without. It saved 35 bucks. So this goes down in here. There. Now we can actually put it back together. Well, I got it all put back together. It looks a heck of a lot better than it did when I took it off. So hopefully it works better also. So we'll get it slid back up in here. I am going to clean that sediment bowl one more time. And I did clean the air cleaner housing, but the element in there, I didn't get cleaned yet. I need to soak that in like some soapy water or something, because I don't want to put that in the parts washer because it was really filthy. I'll show it to you here at the end of the video. So for now we're just going to try running it without. We probably won't be able to test drive it in this video just because I don't have that tire, or the rim I should say. I got the tires. That was too bad, that one was rusted out. I'll have to find something to replace that. That's the thing working on these old machines, is you're always going to run into more problems that you need parts to replace, and sometimes you can get by like with this carburetor without buying anything, but most of the time you end up having to buy something. So that's on there. And we've got this banjo bolt for the fuel. That, and we'll take this loose and dump it. There was some water down in that. And clean that up. There's probably still a little bit of water in that tank. I don't think I got it completely cleaned out, but this will keep catching it anyway. We can keep an eye on it. Just gonna look under the filter screen under there. It looks okay still, and then there's also a filter in the tank. That's one of the things I did when I went and got this, is I had brought a new fuel shut off. The old one was, it wouldn't turn, so the fuel was stuck off. So I'll go turn the fuel on. We can see what we get in that sediment bowl and see if it's any cleaner than it was. Well, that doesn't look too bad. There's a little bit of water I see down in the bottom. Usually that doesn't make it to the carb. That was one nice thing about the design of the bowl like that, is it would keep it from getting into the carburetor, and you could actually see if you had water in the fuel. So I think I'll let it sit for a little bit while I hook up the linkages and stuff. And I'm hoping the carb doesn't leak now. I got the throttle and the choke hooked up. And the carburetor doesn't look like it's leaking yet. Should be filled up. So I'll grab the jumper pack and we'll see if it'll fire up. So I set the front end down a little bit and put it on a jack stand, and the carburetor hasn't been leaking yet, so I put the battery in there. I had it on the charger all day, so we'll see if that's any good. Gotta turn the key on. Too far down on the throttle. Adjusted the low speed a little bit. Seems like it's running pretty good though. We'll let it run for a little bit and see. I know it doesn't have too much antifreeze in it. I should probably dump some water in there. About a gallon, so it's pretty low. I managed to not spill until the very end. I'm not sure if the radiator's leaking or if that's from me spilling. I'm pretty sure it's leaking pretty terribly. This is from where I spilled, but I don't know where it's coming from. I'll have to see when I shut it off. It's kind of spraying it all over the place. Temp gauge should work, as I saw it was all hooked up. Seems like it revs out okay. Yeah, it's leaking a lot of water. I'm glad I only put water in it. You can see it dripping. The fan's flinging it everywhere, so it must be the radiator. Set a little bit wrong. Wanted to run it long enough to see if that temp gauge came up. It has come up a little bit. So I think I'm gonna have to shut it off. It's making a mess, spraying that water all over the floor. I guess it does idle just really low. And you can see it's steaming off of the exhaust. Not sure where that was coming from. Looks like it's up high. Oh yeah. I don't know if you can see that or not. There's a stream coming out the top of the radiator. Well, at least it's up high. I might be able to fix that. Can solder that shut. Because it doesn't look like anywhere else, and that's the main one. It's going to leak it quite a bit though. I'll have to get a pan under there. Seems like it's going kind of all over the place though, so I'm just gonna have to let it make a mess. I think we can maybe set it down and get that jack out of there. And I can get the pan under there. I'll catch some of it anyway. But yeah, I wanted to take it for a spin. I should have maybe left the tires alone until I got the thing running right. We could have took it for a spin, but I really wanted to get those off of there. They bothered me since I first got this, so I think that's probably gonna end it for this video until I find a rim for it. And then we still got the wiring that we need to do and the hood pieces to put on it, and then now we'll have to fix that radiator, which shouldn't be too big of a deal, and then just basically go over everything on it. The wiring's one of the bigger things now. The positive cable, you can see, has seen better days. I might be able to just tape it up since it's just the outer coating here, but this junction here I really need to do something with because that was shorting out. And then I want to get an oil pressure gauge in it and stuff like that. Well, this one was kind of a failure, but I wanted to get a video out this week, so we'll have to wait till next week or the week after maybe before I get a rim for it, and then we'll be able to actually test drive it. We did get it running decent anyway, so I'm glad that part of it is done. And then we'll have to get that air cleaner on it, obviously, before we can use it for anything. But that's going to do it for this one. If you like this sort of thing, like the videos and subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you on the next one.